disastrous consequences. We give rise to anger and hatred which destroy our inner calm, and which disrupt our personal relationships. We're held in the chains of greed, anger, conceit, worry, jealousy, and so on. But the Arhat's mind is totally free, even from the smallest trace of these bonds. He enjoys complete inner autonomy. He lives as master of himself. He has sovereignty over all the workings of his mind. His mind can no longer be dominated, gripped, and compelled by unwholesome motives. And therefore he never acts in any ways destructive to his own welfare or to the welfare of others, but always in ways which are beneficial, which serve the good of others as well as his own good. The Buddha compares the Arhat to a lotus flower. The lotus flower is unstained by all the mud in the pond in which it grows. Even when the muddy water touches it, it immediately falls off the petals without sticking or adhering to the petals. So in the same way, the mind of the Arhat, when it makes contact with sensory phenomena, when the Arhat goes through different experiences, his mind is unstained by the defilements, by greed, hatred, and delusion, but all these worldly phenomena just immediately, they just slip through without giving rise to any defiled motivation. Now, the volitions of the unenlightened person bring about karma. For the unenlightened person, every willed action deposits a seed in the mind with the tendency to produce results, to bring about happiness or suffering in the future, to ripen in a form of future rebirth. The Arhat, however, has broken free entirely from the cycle of actions and reactions. He still performs volitional actions, but these acts of his are the great exception to the rule that all volitional actions are karma. The Arhat's acts, as we've said, are not karma. They are mere activities, kriya mata, activities that take place without leaving any trace on the mind of the Arhat. His acts are trackless, like the flight of birds across the sky. The Arhat still reaps the results of his old karmas performed through his many past lives. He still meets with the pleasant and painful fruits of those actions. But these don't disturb him in any way. They don't upset or stir his mind. He doesn't react to them in terms of the instinctive patterns that have been built up through the defilements, but he observes them with perfect mindfulness and clear comprehension. Thus he's cut off all the chains of suffering. Then, thirdly, the experience of Nibbana can be considered in terms of knowledge or understanding. We find that the Arhat enjoys perfect understanding, complete realization. His mind is the awakened mind, the enlightened mind, the mind that has been illuminated by the knowledge of things as they truly are. He is no longer misled by the distortions, the projections, the perversions, but he understands and sees all conditioned phenomena as impermanent, unsatisfactory, without any ego reference. His state of mind is one of full wisdom, full comprehension. It's the meaning of sambodhi, enlightenment. Okay, so this deals with the Arhat's experience of the Nibbana element with the residue remaining. His living experience, which is a state of perfect happiness, complete peace, complete inner freedom, and full awakening and understanding. Now, the second stage in the attainment of Nibbana is called the Nibbana element without a residue remaining. Anupadisesa Nibbana Dhatu. This is the element of Nibbana that is attained by the Arhat with his passing away, with the breakup of the body, what we conventionally call death. But in the case of the Arhat, the Buddha does not use the word death. This word applies to ordinary beings, not to the Arhat. The notion death is connected with birth. It's an event, a phase that takes place in the round of becoming, the round of birth and death. And the notion of death has its basis in the conception of a self who dies. And it's valid only insofar as there is still the notion of a self in the mind. But the passing away of the Arhat is a final and complete passing away from conditioned existence. It doesn't lead to a new birth, and subjectively it isn't conceived as the death of myself. In his own experience of death, the Arhat sees only the cessation of a process, not the death of a self. The experience for him is without any subjective reference, any reference to me or mine. The Nibbana attained by the Arhat with his passing away is the Nibbana element without residue remaining. And it receives this designation because when it's attained, the residue of the 5 aggregates comes to an end. Now for an unenlightened being, when death takes place, his craving and karma reconstitute the process of the 5 aggregates with a new physical basis. As a result, rebirth occurs and the flux of becoming goes on. New death followed by more, new birth followed by more aging and death. But with the passing away of the Arhat, there is no more rebirth. His mind has been freed from craving and clinging, and all his old karma built up from the beginningless past becomes defunct, becomes ineffective. Since the Arhat doesn't come to any more physical existence, he provides his karma with no more basis by which it can ripen. And thus, with the passing away of the Arhat, the process of the 5 aggregates, the beginningless process of becoming, comes to an end, it draws to a close.